Trevor Noah once said America is 50 countries masquerading as one. Do you think this is true or false? If so, why? That's the point of a federal country, such as Austria, Belgium, Ethiopia, Germany, Malaysia, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Switzerland or the United Arab Emirates. You don't even need to look at federal countries. Even hugely centralized countries can have huge regional differences. I come from Brittany, Western France. Our culture is vastly different from the rest of France. We are Celts, we have our own language, food and traditions. Southern France and Northern France are also extremely different culturally. Alsace, Pays Basque, and Corsica, just like my own region, have their own specific languages and culture. And I haven't even talked about overseas territories. Not sure if this counts, but Canada kinda feels this way too. Edit, WTF, of all my comments, why is this the one that blows up? This is true of most countries. I live in Germany, but Germany isn't just one country. There is a constitution, the basic law Grundgesetz, and federal laws passed by Congress. Then there are the state laws passed by the state governments. Then there are local regulations defined by the counties, cities or town governments. Bavaria, for example, is a free state. The Bavarian leaders never signed the German Basic Law, but stated that they would accept it if 2/3 of the rest of the German states signed it. All other German states did sign it, so the law applies to Bavaria as well. But, Bavaria still sees itself as somewhat more independent than other German states. Bavaria, for example, has a political party that is only active in that state, the CSU, that is associated with the CDU that is active in all other German states. In the current German government, the CSU has several minister positions, even though it only represents one of 16 states in the country. Federal laws are the same across the country. But things like education and schools are in the responsibility of the state, so there are differences. The states try to align them as much as possible, but there are differences, because each state allocates different budgets for education. Sounds like Bavaria is German Texas. Edit, thanks for the gold. So Bavaria is basically Quebec. They never signed the Constitution Act and basically view themselves, and act, as though they are an independent country that somehow ended up in Canada. Yeah, it's crazy. I think a lot of Americans have never been abroad, so they just assume that other countries don't have significant regional differences. At least I cannot find an explanation as to why one would think that. Germany is a federal country just like the US, and the state of Bavaria is like a completely different planet when compared to the state of Berlin, and that again is completely different to the Rhineland area, etc. Yet they clearly belong to the same country. The differences between these states are just not comparable to the differences between countries. And yes, it's totally comparable to New York versus Alabama or something as extreme as that. I agree with this. Although I'm a fan of Trevor Noah, it's not like this is unique to the states. I would argue that countries like Canada and India are more regionally diverse than the states. I disagree that it is true for most countries. But Germany is also historically, a weird country. There have been a German culture, united by trade and language in your region, but you also only united as one nation fairly recently. So you are both one of the youngest countries in Europe, around 200 years or so, and yet your culture and language is among the oldest in Europe. And then you can add on the German separation and unification after the war. I am from your neighbor Denmark, and we have been one country for 1,000 years, same with Sweden, somewhat Norway, we had them for 400 years, England etc. Most countries I would say have been one nation for a long time. But of course all countries can be split into regions, so it is really a definition question. You are correct, of course, most countries are made up of different traditions, cultures, accents, etc. But I do want to point out that Germany is fairly decentralized, as is the USA. Other countries have more centralized governments. France is a good example. This is in part due to history, of course. Decentralization was a key goal the USA implemented after the war. And France has always had more tendencies towards centralization. But big countries plus high population plus more decentral organized government usually equals a highly diverse local population. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.